dun 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 dun. Kilted balls. Yeah. So did you get my theme there? Did you get?
I didn't. I'm always focusing on my own. I don't pay attention.
No,
You'll throw me off.
You're selfish that way, focusing on your own instead of other people's.
About myself.
Just worrying about yourself. Just making sure you're happy. What was I gonna say? Oh, the last episode, the cursed episode, the ghost episode, which had so many issues. If you follow our YouTube minis, you know, like a whole bunch of crap like went down with that. It didn't record, but that being said, and I don't remember. I think I posted it. The video that it captured the first time, it only captured our theme song.
Yeah, you had said that. I just want to say welcome, everybody. Thank you for checking us out again, or if you're new here.
Welcome back to the Kilted Balls podcast. Thank you. We are at episode, I believe, 197. So we're approaching that 200-year anniversary. But yeah, anyway, we've got a great recording of our theme song now.
That's awesome.
Though this one I hope was good too.
Yeah, and then we ended up recording. We ended up not recording for half hour, and then we had to go back and actually record. So yeah, that was exciting. And then it didn't post. It didn't post for like 5 days.
No, it was doing weird stuff. I eventually had to go from scratch. I deleted it all and read it. It was on Spotify the whole time, but it wasn't on YouTube.
Okay.
And we've been trying to do more YouTube minis for y'all. I did one today. Did you get one in today?
Yep. Yes, I did.
Did you see the one I posted yesterday? It might be my favorite YouTube mini now of all time.
Is it the clown one?
Yes.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. Was that not great? I showed that to
hilarious.
a couple people, and they were laughing their booties off. So
That's
check out our YouTube minis. They're all short, 15, 60 seconds, but they're amazing and they're awesome. So the clown one was hilarious. Now that I know there's filters in there, people, you might get a lot more because then you don't have to see this. So
There you go.
You know, that might be a lot better.
I try to throw most of mine I'll throw onto TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Put it on YouTube Short and on TikTok.
I was talking to
it'll hit different people.
Oh yeah. I was talking to a person today and I was like, yeah, each facet of my life has its own social media thing. Because I was like, look at this clown thing. And they were like, that is amazing. They're like, I didn't know YouTube even had that. And I'm like, oh yeah. I go, minis are just like Snapchat, TikTok, Reels, like all those things. They're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was a thing. And they're like, do you do all the rest too? I'm like, every facet of my personality has its own social media. I go, I don't mix them because I get too confused.
Well, that's the hard part about. So YouTube is easy because you can switch accounts. Like I have my account, and then I can switch to the Kilted Balls, upload everything, and then switch back. And then, but I can't do that with TikTok. So TikTok, I just leave the Kilted Balls logged on. I don't even look at my own stuff anymore. I just put it on. I shouldn't even look at TikTok.
I'm like the opposite. My TikTok is always my other TikTok, and my YouTube is always logged in as Kilted Balls, and never the two shall meet.
You watch some weird stuff.
It's not so much that I watch weird stuff, but like Ballbuster says stuff that my other persona would not say. So
yes, that makes sense.
Right. So you all get kind of the unfettered version of me, more or less. So drinking my milk tea. This is milk tea from Gongcha.
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm sad we didn't get to take you there. Kilted visited, people. You saw it on the minis, right? That was so awesome to see you. And you went to a family reunion, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was the yearly. It was pushed back a little bit this year, but the place was amazing. It was in South Haven, right across. It was actually across the street from a park, so that we could see Lake Michigan right there. And it wasn't a huge park, so yeah, it was really nice. Grandma wanted to be closer to Lake Michigan, and the house was a little bit smaller than the houses in the past, but it was set up really well where it didn't seem it like you could be away or you could be together really easy, because there was 15 people there, and people are in and out. Just depends when they could make it. The brothers and sisters tend to be there, and Grandma tends to be there, and then us grandkids, we're in and out, but it's fun. There's some great grandkids too, little itty bitties.
So it's super funny when you talk about this stuff, and it always like messes with my brain. And I wondered this as soon as you started talking, and then you kind of answered my question, because when I think of family reunions like that one, like that you're going to, I figure, a couple 100, 300 people.
Yeah. Nope.
Nope. You were like, it's 15. I'm like, that's my immediate family. Like, my immediate family is bigger than 15.
Well, I mean, your immediate family is even spread. Yeah, it's not as big as a Byers Christmas for sure.
No, that's what I was thinking. Like, as soon as you were like, yeah, there was like 15. I'm like, that doesn't even hit Thanksgiving. Like, that is so.
But there's only 6 kids. There's not 9.
Right.
And then Paul is the oldest, so I'm the oldest grandchild. And then it goes all the way down to what? I guess there was grandchildren born in the early 90s, but it's kind of that range. So most of us aren't having kids yet, or if there's a couple real small ones. Well, Angel did, but so
was Angel there? Was Shane there?
She was not there. He was not there. 2 and 4 of my other cousins weren't. 2 from one aunt, and then 2 from another aunt. They're all married except one, so they just weren't able to make it back this year. Everyone was there last year because it was Grandma's 90th birthday, which was pretty awesome. So
I was just thinking,
there. First time I'd seen.
This is super funny to me, but so it was your grandma's 90th, right?
Last year.
And I was just thinking that I should do something big for my mom this year because it's going to be her 90th.
Mm-hmm.
So my mom's the age of your grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. Oh, and I found out the age, because we were talking about age, and we were talking about this a little bit. I wasn't sure if it'd come up. Gina's dad is 74, so I was a little off, but still.
You're a decade off, yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about ages, and I think that the 60 and above are in a different age frame than we are. Like, well, because I was talking to Ball about I just made a comment that he was older, and I was thinking he was mid-60s, and Ball was laughing that was only 15 years older than us.
Right.
But my point was that they're a lot different. I mean, there are older people who are young like we are, but I mean, I've always said 120 for me, so I'm not going to be middle-aged till I'm 60. So
yeah,
that's just one of those things. Like, I don't feel old. And actually, I meant to do a short on this. I've been thinking about it a lot. Maybe that's gonna be my short tomorrow. But yeah, we gotta.
Well, I've been telling people since I was little. Not so much anymore because now I feel weird talking about it. But like when you're little talking in high school or middle school, like people ask about growing older and doing stuff, and I'm like, well, it's so weird to me that people like retire when they're 60, and they're like, well, you get older, the average lifespan is 80. Whatever, and I'm like, that's weird too because I'm planning on living 135.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, where did you get 135? And I'm like, well, that's 3 centuries worth and a good chunk in each century. I'm like, why would you live less than that? Like,
yeah.
I go, that doesn't make any sense to me. And they're like, that's not how it works. And even at a young age, I'm like, it works however I say it works. So,
however I decide it's going to work.
Yeah, and I go, so I'm doing 135. And the funny thing is probably the last 10 years or so, right, as we're aging, as I'm getting more gray, and I can't, throw people as far anymore, or I get hurt when I'm, throwing too many big things.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I won't live to 135 or more. And now I'm reading the book The Singularity, and I'm like, well, shit, I might live to 300, 400, 500.
I can't imagine it's going to take you 15 more years to get in the Singularity after me.
No. Right? I'm like,
you must have been in the long line.
Yeah. So that's my thing. Now I'm like, okay, it's completely possible that I live for an extended period of time. It's like, what is the movie called? Out of Time. Have you ever seen that with Justin Timberlake?
Yes, yeah, where they have the time on their
Yes.
watches.
And it's interesting. I just saw like a reel or TikTok showing a scene of that. And I was like laughing because I'm like, oh my gosh, I told my girls they have to watch that movie. But, they say in the movie, like, they don't remember how it is that they live forever. They just know they do. And so time is what everything's measured in, not, that's their currency. Because they live as long as they want to live. And I was like, actually, we're getting to that point now where we're not very far off being able to live however long we want to live. And then they would probably have to put limits on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think about that when it comes to the big jackpot. Because you in the movie, not to give away too much, but he comes in too extra and passes it out, and not everyone's ready for that. And I feel that I'm going to share, and there's probably some people in my life who aren't going to be ready for that, but see, we'll let them decide and where their life journey is supposed to go.
Yeah, so like I've thought about that before, right? Like we talked about, I have a huge family, and I'm like, ooh, if I won a big jackpot, like what would I do? Like would I just split it equally? Would I do whatever? And like sometimes I'm like, some of you are going to get something. I want you to be happy and comfortable, but I'm not going to put you in a grave, right? Like that's not going to be my choice, right? Like I probably, like I don't know about Angel anymore, how she's been the last couple years or so, but like 4 years ago, I wouldn't have given Angel that. Like I wouldn't be like, hey, Angel, here's a couple million, have a good time. Because
yeah, exactly.
Right? She'd be dead in 2 months. So I wouldn't like do that to her. Like it'd be I would feel guilty like I personally caused that, right? Because I would be under the impression that I knew it was going to happen.
There are other things you can do though. Like you can say, "Hey, here's a spot to live."
Yes. And that's what I was thinking. I was like, "You know what? I have this one friend. I would just buy them a house. Like, here's a spot. So you can't go spend that, but here's a spot for you to live. You can't sell it because I'm going to keep ownership. I'm just giving it to you to live in. So,
like I'm not going to ask you for anything.
Right. So go have a good time, but, you're not going to kill yourself on my watch.
Yep. I agree.
So, yeah. Which, that's kind of fun. I had said on Twitter or one of my minis that I thought we'd be talking about family because we would talk about your reunion. And I think family is a super interesting concept. And I think we've talked about it in podcasts before. Like the Byers family is huge and it's all encompassing. And it has no issues absorbing other people into the fold. Like I think because there's so many of us, there's like no differentiation when we just bring in other people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And
no, exactly.
Right? Like to the point of my brother the other day called and said, hey, I have a buddy, he wants to drop his trailer at your house like during the state game. I'm like, sure, whatever. And then the buddy called, he's like, is this really okay? I'm like, aren't you my bro's friend? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. He's like, okay, well, like I'll meet you there. I'm like, you're not going to meet me. Just come here, drop it off, come back and get it. Like, whatever. Like, use the land. I don't care. Right? Like, you do you. But I think that's because if you're a friend of my brother, then you're kind of like automatically a friend of mine. Like, I'm not worried about it. Like, if you were a dick, my brother wouldn't be your friend and he wouldn't ask. He would have laughed at you when you said, hey, do you have a spot? Like, he probably offered me up saying, oh, you need a spot to drop it? I've got a brother there. He'll help you out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which is the same thing I would do, right? Like, I'd be like, hey, I got a brother over here. I got a brother here, right? We did that in Minnesota. Hey, I've got a brother. Let's go see him.
Yeah.
Or
I used to use your brother's camper.
Yes.
For Cherry.
Yes, right? So I'm like, come on. We have no issues with that. But the interesting part is then we had a comment from someone that was like, yeah, it'd be really interesting if you talked about, and I said this in my mini, the family you choose and the family like you're born with. And I'm like, that's really interesting because I have my family that I'm born with. And I might separate them a little bit from other people, but it's really, really rare that I would. Right? So, like, the first thing is that, like, you or our buddy Jamie or even Amy, and she'll admit this too, Byerses are weird, right? So like I am not a very big anomaly in my family.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm an anomaly a lot of other places, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we're a different breed. We understand that, which means we act differently around each other, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
different kind of a fold, whether you're an external or not. Like, you know, like when you're there, you're accepted, you're part of the group, but you can tell there's a difference.
Yep.
Right? And so it's an interesting thing because some people don't have that with their like biological family. And I think it's because ours was so entwined and so close growing up that we all had the same shared experiences and traumas and abuses, and you know what I mean? And so we all understand that, and then we act the same way because of that. And so it's like a different thing.
Yeah.
Right? Which doesn't diminish, like, say, us. It's just a different thing. And so I imagine other people are that way, too.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's funny. I was talking about your family Christmas and how it had been 20 years since I'd been there, but people were acting like I was there the year before. Because in different situations, I see your family, like, throughout the year, doing different things and random stuff, and so it was funny. They were laughing.
Well, and you can tell you're kind of part of it, right?
Mm-hmm. I've been around for here and there.
You've been around for a little bit, you know, and that you know, like I said, they're just very accepting of all of that. In fact, I would make the argument sometimes, and some of my family listens to this, and so it'd be interesting to hear their take. But I often feel sometimes that they treat externals more like family sometimes than they treat their family. Right? Like,
maybe.
Because while we all have shared experiences and act the same, there's definitely differences between us. Right?
Yes.
Like, some of us are vastly different than others, and so they get treated vastly different, right? You can definitely feel a hierarchy. Like, they always tease my little sister and I that we're the favorites. And we are, right? Because we're the best, and that's just like
that
the way,
sense.
right? Like, so it makes sense. Of course we would be, right? And so you can feel that, you know, they're like, ah, like almost resentful, although it's not anybody's fault. It just is what it is, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Sorry, you were old and cranky. We were babies and cute. So while you were going through your teenage years and being little jerks, like they had us being all young and cute and happy. And by the time we got to our teenage years, they were sleeping all the time because you wore their asses out. So
yeah, exactly.
That's not on us. They didn't get to see us be bad because they were too tired by that point. So just the way of the world. But
yeah, it's fun.
Well, and do you have other people that you consider family that are not biological, that are chosen family?
I mean, same people that you had mentioned. I would consider, you know, my closest friends' family. Like, we've been together that long. It was almost going to the mountains for me was almost like a reunion of brothers, even though like. You had interacted with Miles, and Jesse had interacted with Miles. You didn't have the same relationship that I did, but but all of us together like that, it felt like that.
Yes,
like we've been together so long, and it's like family.
Yeah, well, right. And if our good friend Heather ever listens to this, like, you know, she's like part of that group. I mean, now, in all reality, Heather's more like a kissing cousin.
Yeah.
Than like a sister. So
yeah.
maybe a sister from Tennessee. I don't know.
There you go.
She has family in Tennessee.
Same idea. I would even though I don't interact with and whenever we do, it's amazing.
Because you're right back there, right? Like when I'm interacting with my brothers and sisters, we're right back together, right there. You know, like that closeness didn't change. The part that I find interesting, and like this kind of came like when my wife and I were first getting together, right? Like she had all of these times where she'd be like, I have to see my family. I have to see my family. My family's really important. And we got into some arguments when we were like first together because she would be like, hey, I have to go to this, or this. I'm like, nah. Like, we're going to go over here. And she's like, my family is just as important as your family. And I'm like, we're not going to see your family. We're going to see your cousins.
Yeah.
And she's like, that's my family. I'm like, no, we're going to see my brother. That's my family. And there was a disconnect because she grew up, her cousins were like her sisters and brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, like, in my relationships, I didn't even know who my cousins were.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, some of them I knew. Like, I knew of them. But they were all, 10, 20 years older than me. So I didn't have any relationships with them besides, like, a hi here or there. I couldn't name them right now. Like, if you're like, can you name all your cousins? Like, I'd probably get a good, like, 10 maybe. Mm-hmm. Right? But I wouldn't be able to name all of them. It'd be a hard time. Whereas she had a brother and a sister and then like 6 cousins, right? So like, and they were
all right around that same age.
They were all the same age. They hung out all the time, like every day. And so that makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. Like my kids hang out with their cousins that way. And they're really, really close. And that makes sense, right? So it was interesting at the time because it wasn't like a choosing thing, like biological choice. It was more like I didn't, like, even right now, like some of my cousins, I wouldn't know. Like if I saw them on the street, they're clearly not as close as my chosen family. Mm-hmm. And they're biological, right? And I'm sure they're fantastic, awesome, great people. Mm-hmm. But there's a big disconnect there because we don't see each other.
Yeah.
Right? And don't know each other and all of that jazz, right?
Yeah.
Whereas hers is closer.
Like, even when I was younger, like being so much older, I mean, 14 years older than the next cousin. Well, I guess not quite. Tom is a little bit older, but still, at least 10.
Yeah.
So we didn't have as much interaction when we were younger. But as adults, we'll all play games and we'll do this and that. And it's, it just, with the age, you can develop those other relationships, which is awesome.
Well, yeah. Well, and like some of mine, like my cousin Lynn, it's interesting because this is horrible, people, and I understand that. I tend to see Lynn mainly at funerals.
Oh, okay.
Like we're at that age now where, there's not a lot of people getting married. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a heck of a lot of people dying. So I see her there, and she'll come over to Byers Christmas sometimes, or she'll come over to Thanksgiving, right? Yeah. And she's part of the older group from me. Mm-hmm. But, she's like a cousin that we used to go to her house every once in a while. And, she stayed in touch during my working years. She worked at Fowlerville as a teacher, right? So, like, we stayed in kind of contact. So, there's, like, differences like that, right? But families are a weird thing. And they're weird to everybody. Like, like every family is different, chosen or biological. So like my familial arrangement with like you and Jesse and Heather and Miles and Jamie, right? Like that whole big expanse.
Yes.
And then all my brothers and sisters. And then I would consider Rick and Aaron family, right? Maybe Bob. I don't know, Bob, if you're listening. That's like part of the deal. Yeah. Whereas then there's other people like I'll talk to and they got like 2 people. I'm like, man, like you and I build close relationships though, so it makes sense for us.
Yeah.
But I think otherwise, how lonely.
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay having like, if I could have hundreds of good friends that I consider family, I'd be ecstatic, right?
Yeah, it'd be super awesome.
As long as they give me time to have my own personal time too. Right. So, and by the way, people, as an aside, speaking of personal time, you can't tell this, but I do want you all to see this, just because. Look, I am dressed. I have pants on, right? Mm-hmm. Kilted does not have pants on. I want you all to know that. He does not have pants on. So if you are imagining underneath that screen that he has pants on, that is false. That is a lie. It is a trick of magic.
We would have to change the rating of this episode if I stood up.
If he stood up, the rating would change. The rating would change, right? It would be fantastic. I mean, maybe we should have a rating change, right?
Yep.
So I don't know.
We get more watchers.
We'd get more watchers, and maybe we should make an OnlyFans. By the way, I have decided that OnlyFans is like a big joke to me all the time. So I've never been to OnlyFans. Have you ever been to OnlyFans?
I've never been.
No, but it's like a super funny joke. And I don't think other people would take it as a joke, because my wife sent me a text the other day about like a friend in the area whose kids went to school with our kids, and she's very clingy, helicoptery to her kids, right? Mm-hmm. And Amy made the comment. She's like, "What is she going to do when all of her kids have left the nest? When she's an empty nester? Like, she does so much for and with her kids. What's going to happen when they fly away?" And I was like, "OnlyFans." And she's like, bah, ha, ha, ha. And I said that to my daughter. I'm like, "Look how funny this is, like OnlyFans." And she's like, oh my gosh, she would never. She'd be so embarrassed if you said that. She would be like appalled. And I was like, really? Because I think she would laugh, because that's super damn funny right there. Mm-hmm. So
that's awesome.
But apparently no. Apparently it wasn't. But we all thought it was funny. So
yes, that's all that matters.
I find like when I sit in my chair wrong, like I'm slowly like.
Mm-hmm. You do.
And it's worse right now because you're not wearing any pants, so.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where did Ball just go? Whose balls is he busting today? I don't know. Right? Who knows? Anyway, yeah. Other thoughts on family since you just did the reunion?
Yeah, I love having, and the great part is, and I don't know if I've said this before, but Paul adopted me when I was 6 or 7, so I wasn't born in Antrim, but to be part of the family, I mean, I'm part of that family. So, it's awesome to have people that are so close that aren't necessarily blood, and family isn't just blood. As we've talked about as well. We have us. I literally changed some working conditions for people where I changed it. It had like bereavement stuff in there. And it was for immediate family. And just recently we changed that. I was like, nope, we're changing that because that is too limiting. There are people in my life who are immediate family who are not blood related. Yeah. And I'm like, and they need the same grieving opportunity for those people, right? So, not for me, but for other people, they need to grieve. So, for me, I'd be happy for everybody either way, right? Some people do.
Yeah. I think it's important, right? And I think certain people, like I would probably get upset maybe for like a couple days, right? But yeah. As you've talked about before, we've lost really close people before. And it is upsetting. But I've always viewed it, and maybe it's because of the religious stuff that we talk about, right? As like, for me, I'm always like, like they're not, like, they're still there to me all the time. And so it's not like I don't feel, like I feel separated, like they moved to another state. Yeah. And you're in another state right now, so you are now dead to me, and that's just how it is. Right?
Well, just a YouTube that I was listening today, a guy was talking about his guru, and he had talked about death, and because they were talking about everything being perfect. Yeah. And he's like, "What about when you die?" He's like, "I'm just leaving this body. Like that's it. Like I'm changing. Everything's perfect. Like I'm not going anywhere. Yeah. I'm just not going to be in this body anymore."
Well, and there are so many ideas / religions. We talked about ghosts last week. Now we're talking about families, and it's tying these together kind of right now. But there's so many things that speak to another level, right? Like, and let's go to like not religion at all. Let's go completely separate from religion. There's really good proof / evidence that we're a simulation. If we're a simulation, that means your code is in the simulation and will always be in the simulation and will always be stored in the simulation. So it's silly to think that we wouldn't always be there, right?
Yeah.
If you're Hindu, you believe in reincarnation. Like, you believe that's something that happens all the time. If you're Christian, if you're Catholic, right? There's so many different things where they're like, yeah. The people who are like, yeah, you become part of the universal energy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Like, that's your code. That's your soul. That's your whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're continuing on. It's a really, really small group of individuals, looking at you, kid, that think that when you die, it's done. You disappear and there's nothing left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's a really small thing. And my thought is that many people, there's got to be some grains of reality in that concept, right? Whether it's religion, whether it's whatever, you know, like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. And if that's what you believe, why wouldn't that be your reality? Even for temporary, you might get sick of it and be like, all right, I'm ready to go back. Ready to go back to source.
Yeah. Or maybe you have to be dragged there kicking and screaming, and then you get respawned somewhere else, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of where my vantage is. And you know what? Here's the thing, people. Here's the thing. If I'm wrong and you die and you no longer exist, there is no different to my present self with either belief system.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't make a difference to this whether I go on forever or I end at a certain date. This can't respond either way to either option. Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't I choose the option that's happy?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I literally can choose either one, and you don't have evidence that either one is the correct one, right?
Yeah.
I'm pretty positive, and we'll have to ask a few of our buddies, I'm pretty positive there's no evidence available that shows we are not in a simulation.
Yeah. I've seen a bunch of stuff on the simulation.
Right? Has there been any evidence refuting it?
And it's not only the science simulation, what we would think of in like The Sims or a video game or something. Mm-hmm. Even like speakers and like Bashar and other people like that say, because we're making everything in our mind, like this is all our personal simulation. Like how is that different than if it's all written by some greater power? It's not. If we're making it all up, we're making it all up.
Yeah, either way.
Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah, or someone else is making it up for us.
Which, again, makes no difference.
We're just running around. Yeah, no difference at all.
And you can't tell the difference. So why not choose the one that makes you the happiest?
Mm-hmm. Well, like my short today, I said, I was driving through if anyone missed this, I was driving in the West Virginia Turnpike, and I pulled up, and I said, hey, how you doing? And she said, good. You? I said, I'm awesome. And she's like, I've never been awesome. And I was like, you know how to fix that? And she goes, no, how? I said, just choose to. I drove up for her. It is. And like I said, if you don't know if you can be awesome, pick great. Do it for a minute. I'm great. I'm amazing. I'm awesome. Whatever you want to pick, just pick it for a little bit and see how it feels on you. It's like you're trying on a shirt at the Goodwill. Do I like this? No. Do I not?
Yeah. And
so, yeah.
Honestly, humans, it's that easy, right? Spend 20 seconds if you're having a rough time. Just spend 20 seconds. You can even start in that like sad pose or the cobra pose. Just be like, I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. Ballbuster is great. I'm great. Just spend 5 minutes repeating that to yourself. Mm-hmm. Trust me, you'll recode yourself. It doesn't take very much.
Doesn't take very much.
You're probably going to start laughing at yourself within a minute. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, you know, like, and we're not saying this cures all the world's problems. We're not saying that.
No. But you can make your little corner that you're making, or that someone else coded,
whatever it is, right?
A bit better.
Your spot can be a bit better. And at the end of the day, it's not going to make it worse. Right?
Yep.
It shouldn't make it any worse. I don't think. Anyway, on that message, and I hope you take it with you, I think we're going to call this episode over. We appreciate you being with us. Follow us, subscribe, send us messages, get on our Discord. I need to change the link. Give us comments. Send us some tweets or X's or whatever the heck they're called right now. But we love you, and this is Ballbuster signing off.
Kill to Dragon Jerry, love you all.